So when you're doing something like this to yourself, I do like the egg balls, but again, I don't have enough time today. Again, now I like the feet right at the edge. They can be hanging, but I find when they're hanging, it changes just where the pelvis is.
Do you want me to get you the bigger ball?
I'm fine. So it doesn't matter which way you want to do this. If you want it more over the pelvis, then you can go more that route.
Oh, okay.
If you want, or you can do it where it's more midsection front. So part of it when you're doing it to yourself is just getting used to the wall and just allowing that hang. So now if I wanted to do it to myself, so now I'm going after the twist in the mid-back. So I'm lightly lifting up my right knee. When I say lifting, it's not even going off the ground. But I'm lifting to twist my mid-spine, sort of where the bra is. Now you can put your hand there if you want to feel it, I don't care.
And you're doing this from your right knee.
Right knee. So now I'm expanding the belly, right knee, and twist. If I don't expand the belly, see how it's more of a lift. So now if I switch,
to the left knee?
Yeah. But again, my intention is to twist at the back. Now with sort of those lizard moves that we were doing. But again, extend the pelvis and bring up the shoulders. You know, and that was these kind of moves. Again, what I like to do is just go back to the beginning of every move versus the grandiose stuff. And then what you can do too is push down the right foot, rotate slightly over to the left elbow, and then now rotate back over to the foot. Through the elbow. Elbow doesn't come off the floor, nor does the foot. So now I'm starting to seesaw my head a lot more to counter as I rotate over and rotate over. But with this, see, I can slowly start working into this. And I can go here, but actually a better move would be, so going now back to more to the foot, and think of that tailbone. So tailbone now rotating, and going back to over to the elbow, and then back down into the foot to just sit. You almost want to think like there's a stick literally up your butt, and that's where that rotation is coming from. But again, you can change it any time now. I can do this more from the head, but it won't go towards my foot as easily. I can do it more towards the back.
So in a way, kind of going to various parts of the anatomy as long as it keeps feeling good.
Right, but I've been doing this now so much to the right.
You need to change.
But see to the left?
Ah, yeah. Wow.
So you really can self-examine. Now also sort of what I did for you a little bit, but I can sit there and down on my arms and now blow air into my belly and bring head up. So I'm not really bearing weight. So that's like the airplane kind of thing that kids do. But again, practicing blowing air in the belly. So all this is just expand the belly, lift the head. So I guess now we'd have to expand the belly and go down with the head. That's hard.
Hard for you because of your scoliosis?
No,
or just hard?
It's not getting the, I can do it here. Expand the chest, expand the belly. Whee! I was good at that. That was our first segment. Okay, now on your belly. Now expand the chest, expand. I'm like, oh. Okay, crawl up into a ball. Now expand the chest. So I can do that really well. So to here. So much more of a reach. See, now I come back now and sit. Now I can reach opposing, starting to cross the midline. Let's see, you ready? Look at the difference. I can't even.
Wow, yeah.
Now this would be a good one too to start working into the higher ATMs, you know, where you can put your shoulders behind. You know how you're supposed to put your knees on the ground and your shoulders on your back? We did these where it was more this, the arm going this way.
Head through the gap?
Yeah. But I find it nicer with the balls that I can do it this way.
Yeah, we call that head through the gap.
I don't know if we always had names for everything or that I remember that part, but I can remember all the ATMs that I've done, you know, the whole.
That's more important than remembering names, and unfortunately all I do is remember names and numbers.
So, but now I can come up, you know what I mean, and go down. But see, that was a grab with my toes. See that? So that's where I would stop myself. So is there a way, again, of rolling, or there we go, transferring, and then transfer. That's where I try and catch myself when I'm doing any kind of an ATM. See, again, how can I do this? See, that was still a lift. You know. But again, you can do the practice where you're going up onto the elbows and the rotating. That's in the Amherst stuff. You know, when you're laying straight, your arms straight, and you go into. So you can do a lot. Or again, if you were older or had a scoliosis, this ATM would be very difficult for someone. So I really like if you could find a way to incorporate the balls to give you just a different way of looking at life. So, see again, you can see the difference from left to right already.
But this would probably be too much for my 85-year-old cancer patient, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends, but yeah, I think so, but it's still stuff that you can play with and then think of
how it might,
wow,
yeah.
like here. Like just this lift. See the difference of lifting now here, right? And then coming here. See again, see I can feel it right in the elbows. Look at the difference in the elbow. And see, the elbow wants to come up here where the elbow here is. But again, is that because I'm not doing the movement correctly or am I dysmorphic? So I don't, but again, just see right here, that lift versus just here. So again, see this is where I would start, okay, now I see this, now how do I turn this back into an FI? So that's where I like, where I play on myself, because I'm always thinking, okay, now here to there to here, and how would I make it so, again, for that client who's 85, what would I do differently? And again, maybe just that little bit of this kind of thing, because again, the way the cancer is and everything's, you have to understand too about cancer, like I said, everyone's touching in that area. So maybe she doesn't like her breast tissue being exposed. Maybe, you know what I mean, like this, she's butt naked, this, that, and the other, and they're touching herself like this. So I would think that any FI that's based off of, you know, again, these kind of movements. I mean, so that was the one ATM. Oh God, John did this. John was going to be a trainer, and then he dropped out, and he said, oh, I see the politics or whatever. Maybe, I don't know, He did this thing, I felt like seaweeds, where you come down. You know what I mean? This one.
Yeah.
But the way he talked, I'm like, you should bottle it, John, because he'd be like, oh, and feel good. I mean, he just had this great. This is where, you know, maybe to your 85-year-old that you can ask for a bit more input, where you have your hand on the pelvis and then at the back and just say, okay, now here's my hand, you know what I mean, and pat or whatever. Now push me away and see if she can get more function or movement in and around and underneath the cancer tumor. Might be something that she would want to play with. And when she's at home, she can do like this and say, now just breathe your hand away. Instead of mentioning the cancer per se, but breathe your hand away, you know? And breathe your hand away. And then she can do this from all different positions, you know? Breathe your hand away, breathe your hand away, breathe your, you know, where she can get her breath back into her lungs.
Right, she's really having trouble with breathing and just went on oxygen.
As a whole. Because even something like this that I did to you today, she can go home and just, again, a nice gentle little rotation. But see, just this rotation here is turning off the alarm. You know, it's just that twist versus it having to be, yeah, and that's what so many people do. So, but yeah, I can probably take almost every lesson that I do and do it to myself. What I can't do is where I use a lot of muscle. So if I was back here and really wanted to work on my vertebrae, I'm just...
Oh yeah, you can't do it.
I can't do it.
I keep having the feeling that I just need to keep exploring a little slower with a little more attention. Her movement and counterbalance, keep putting in, inputting rotation into the pelvis.
And again, she's low tone, that transfer of weight. Think of a baby to do this is not going to happen. I can't lift, I'm stuck. Babies transfer. They transfer. So even though I have an object to listen to, again, this was a lift. What a baby would do, see how it transfers. This object becomes them. And that's how a baby first explores toys. Okay? It's only later that they can do, this is a much more sophisticated function. So that being said, it should not be the same for a foot. But that's what happens when they're low tone, when they haven't learned that this kind of thing, and they do these spasms, and what they're learning is their opposed gravity. And then they do this kind of stuff, right? And then they do this and this and this, and you know, and this comes later, but they're learning their proportions and they're doing all of that. So when you have a low tone or cerebral palsy or whatever, when the feet are now down there, that's a long way away. So for them to do the foot, you know, so that's where I'm underneath, and you'll see this kind of thing. I'm working on that whole transfer to the pelvis. So again, that rotation of the femur, this is the initial of this. You know? So I'm always looking to, like seesaws, that blue weight, however you want to look at it. I'm always here, especially on the groin, because again, it's much more, you get that lift. I can do it to myself, but when you just pop that pubic bone, that tailbone, but that's this, you know, and they have hips that can do this. Now I can do a lift, right? But babies, because the way the hips are out and so forth, they round and they have this. So you'll just see me all the time from that side. They're going down, 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 always working. I'm going a lot faster, but this is what I'm working on. And then when the feet come in, right? So that, let's say this foot's presenting. Even though I'm here still, I'm going to this. That's my intention. when the foot's there. So if I have to add a little bit more here, I'm always foot to pelvis, foot to pelvis. So they're learning foot, pelvis, foot, pelvis. So I'm not up at the knee going up, down, bare weight foot, bare weight pelvis. Because again, if they're not experiencing this, they're not experiencing that bearing weight on the pelvis. Or this. Like when a baby first scoots, wahoo! Because they're also learning feet's going away from their head. So, that's why you always just see me pelvis, 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 lungs, pelvis. So again, so this is so much easier because again, low tone, you just think of, look at her like almost like a little old lady. What can I do to help her function better? Because I'm done. And that's what the problem is, the car seat. Not that it's a car seat. When you have a baby in a 5-point harness, right? So it comes down here, comes around here and through the crotch, right? And this is the day that they've decided they're going to try and like bring that foot up. They try, it's really like training an elephant. You put this big chain on a baby elephant, and after a while they just give up. So a large elephant, you can put literally a string around their ankle and they're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
That's what a car seat does to a human brain.
Wow.
So if that's the day that they've decided they're going to try and lift their leg up and they're harnessed in, so later on they might do it this way because they've already tried this way. So that's why I go in and say, okay, everything's off, everything. But see this now? See the coordination now, the foot to the pelvis? Look at how many moves a baby has to do all of these things. This is controlled. Left, right, left, right. That comes more with Arlie now. But this whole counter thing, it should be natural. Eyes, head, look. It just looks like spastic. But it's constant counter rotation, counterbalance, counter rotation. And finally they go, you know, and they can control it. And that's what happens. So that's why you're not sitting there going, but if you've ever done like Wii Fitness or sit on a horse, you can't sit on a horse like a stick.
No.
You know what I mean? Like even though your vision's steady, something's doing this and you know. So if you go on Wii Fitness, you think you're just standing there, but it's going, beep, 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 calculating it, and it'll show you, like you're supposed to stand still for like 15 seconds, but then it'll show you your counter, your what it's trying to do is it asks you to stand like right, left foot same, right foot same to the line. So it'll show you your stance is off, it's more to the right, bring it. But the problem is, I can't just shift my ass, you know, they're not calculating scoliosis and all this sort of stuff. But nobody's done Wii Fitness, they all look at me like I'm crazy, but it's a really neat tool to show that, A, how circular the patterning is in your standing, but so that's just basically all my tricks in a nutshell. But with Allegra, it's the same thing. For her to, she's not sitting up. You saw it with Dunya yesterday. This, and the mom's like trying to yank the head up. She could have yanked her head off. She's not going to sit up. But all of a sudden, when the eyes went, it's unbelievable.
That was very cool. Very cool.
But that's the synchronizing of the system. But the same thing, Allegra's eyes are off specifically, even if she didn't have a visual diagnosis. Her eyes are off because her nasal cavities are too small. So they're not getting the same proprioceptive responses by going around as you or I would, because our maxillaries go all like this. So you have to take that. It's just minor stuff. That's sometimes where the parents forget to tell somebody that, but that's like key to me. Like, oh. So again, if you're junky, you need that slow of coming over so the liquid goes down and around. But if you just go like this, you know, breathe or roll on my belly. I pick breathing. So, anyway, let's get the table ready for Sonia.